Welcome to AI Predicts. In this video, I've put the three leading AI models in the world, Grok, ChatGPT and Gemini, all against each other and asked them to predict the upcoming Champions League games on Tuesday. Then, when all the games have been played, we'll find out which model was most accurate. We've also put a real-life accumulator bet on, and if you comment on this video by the time the games have all been played, you're in with a chance of winning a split of that bet if it does indeed come in. Really quickly, just before we kick off, I'd really appreciate it if you'd consider subscribing to the channel and liking the video. It really does mean a lot for a small channel like myself. But anyway, enough of that. Let's jump into it. Okay, so here are the predictions on screen. We'll have a quick run through those, and then I'll explain what we're going to put on the bet and how you can win it, and then I'll also share with you what the prompt was. Okay, so on screen right now, I'm looking at the same screen as you, so I'll just be looking off camera a little bit. So first up, we've got Galatasaray versus Atletico Madrid. ChatGPT and Gemini are both predicting a 2-1 Atletico win, and Grok is predicting a 2-2 draw. So yeah, I think Galatasaray got pretty good players these days, haven't they? They've got Leroy Sané, Osimhen, Yilmaz, I might be getting that wrong, but they've got a decent squad. They're playing at home. They've got a really insane home crowd that sort of get them going. So I do like their chances here. Atletico, I think you'd say, are a stronger team overall. Julian Alvarez up front, Sørloth, all that lot. They're all pretty good. I think it's a fairly evenly matched game, actually. So I don't mind the draw or the Atletico win in terms of the bet. So maybe we'll go for a double chance there. Next up, we've got Karabag versus Eintracht Frankfurt. ChatGPT and Gemini agreeing again, and that is on a 3-1 Eintracht Frankfurt win. And Grok is predicting a 2-1 Karabag win. Now, Karabag are above Eintracht Frankfurt in the Champions League table at the moment. They're actually doing pretty well, considering, you know, their stature. So, yeah, I mean, this is a bit of a unknown to me. I personally don't really know which way this one will go. And the AI can't seem to sort of align properly on this. I think we've got both teams to score there. We've got maybe a double chance in the works. So we'll see what we do on the accumulator for that one. Moving on, we've got Atalanta versus Athletic Club Bilbao. Grok is predicting a 3-1 Atalanta win. ChatGPT, a 2-1 Atalanta win. And Gemini, a 2-0 Atalanta win. So the common through line there is an Atalanta win, of course. So that's what we'll consider when we're putting the bet on. I think, again, these are two very evenly matched teams. Atalanta pretty good. Athletic Bilbao, I'm not sure about their current form, but I think they're doing pretty well in the Spanish league. So yeah, probably an Atalanta win we'll go for there. Next up, we've got Bayern Munich versus Union Saint-Gilloise, and Grok and Gemini are agreeing this time, and that's on a 4-0 Bayern win, whereas ChatGPT is predicting a 4-1 Bayern win. So yeah, I think this is one of the easier ones of the day to predict. Bayern are very, very strong. Union Saint-Gilloise, they're not total pushovers, but yeah, Bayern Munich being at home as well, I think they're gonna walk this one fairly easily. Then we've got Chelsea versus Paphos FC. ChatGPT and Gemini predicting a 3-0 Chelsea win, and Grok is predicting a 4-1 Chelsea win. So yeah, Chelsea heavy favourites again. The common theme here is a Chelsea win, and a pretty heavy one at that. So yeah, I mean, it's fairly obvious, isn't it? I think Cole Palmer now being back fit, they've got a pretty good squad. They're in half decent form. So yeah, the new manager, Liam Rossini, as well, I like what I see from him. Even though they lost against Arsenal in that Carabao Cup game, they still sort of played pretty well, you know. I think Arsenal are a very hard team to break down and play against, and they'd still managed to score a couple of goals and create quite a few chances. So yeah, Chelsea for on a win, that one. Maybe we'll put a bet builder on that to try and boost the odds, because I can't imagine they're that good. Then we have Juventus versus Benfica, and all three models are perfectly aligned here and predicting a 1-1 draw. So yeah, Juventus are up there in the title race for the Serie A. Benfica, I don't really keep up with the Portuguese league, but I always assume they're sort of winning it more often than not. It's between them, Sporting, and Porto, I would imagine. They're a good team. They always play pretty well in the Champions League, and they give the big heavy hitters a run for their money fairly often. So yeah, I can see this one being a draw. I think that's what we'll go with. We're going to trust AI here. Well, of course we are, because we're called AI Predicts, not Human Predicts. So we'll go with that. Then we have Marseille versus Liverpool, and Grok and ChatGPT are predicting a 2-1 Liverpool win, whereas Gemini is predicting a 2-2 draw. So I don't actually mind the double chance there. Marseille are at home. Liverpool in not very good form, to be honest. So yeah, I think maybe Marseille win this, but I think Liverpool, you know, their Champions League form is probably a bit better than their Premier League form. So yeah, I think maybe we'll go for a double chance there, Liverpool, or draw possibly. The penultimate game is Newcastle versus PSV Eindhoven, and Grok and ChatGPT are calling that a 2-2 draw, and Gemini's predicting a 2-1 Newcastle win. I personally think Newcastle will win this one, but it's hard to say for sure because they've been on a little bit of dodgy form lately. They recently drew 0-0 with Wolves, the lowest, well, the worst team in the Premier League at the moment, so that's not a good sign. PSV, I believe they're somewhere near the top of the Dutch table. So yeah, maybe we'll stay away from a result on this one. Maybe you do the sort of like a both teams to score or something. Then the last game, which is Slavia Praha versus Barcelona. Grok and Gemini agreeing here, and that's on a 3-0 Barca win, and ChatGPT is predicting a 3-1 Barcelona win. So yeah, I think this is what, again, similar to the Bayern Munich Union Saint-Gilloise game, fairly easy, unless we get like a really ridiculous upset, which honestly I can't really see. Barcelona just too strong for a team like that, I think, even away from home. So yeah, I think we'll take that into account when we put the bet on. And speaking of which, let's move on to that right now. Okay, so here it is, and I'll have a quick run through that and sort of talk you through the rationale as to why we've picked what we've picked, and then I'll explain exactly if we do win, how the money changes hands and all that, all sort of like the process there, and I'll explain what the prompt was, as I've said. Okay, so the Karabag Eintracht Frankfurt game, we've gone for the double chance for either team to win. So we went with the sort of through line of the AI models because I think two picked Frankfurt, one picked Karabag. So the only thing we don't want there is a draw, and I think that's, you know, fairly. I think that's all right. I always say this when I'm doing the rationale. I always think, yeah, this makes sense, and then as I say, I think no, this could definitely be a draw. But you know, that's what betting's all about, right? Okay, so the next game, we've got Atalanta to beat Athletic Bilbao because all three models were aligned and called that a Atalanta win. So that's what we'll go with there. The Bayern Munich game against Union Saint-Gilloise, gone for a bet builder because those kind of games where they're kind of sort of heavily one-sided, you know, you don't really get that good odds on them. So what I've gone for is a bet builder that comprises of a Bayern Munich win, Harry Kane or Michael Elise to score at any time, and both of those players, Kane and Elise, to at least have a shot on target each. Also, for there to be over 3 goals in the game. That came out at 11-10. That's about as good as you're going to get on a game like this. You know, I think all those things are pretty likely to happen. So, you know, we'll take that though. Next game, the Chelsea Paphos game, we've gone for another bet builder, and that is comprising of a Chelsea win, Cole Palmer to either score or assist, Pedro Neto and João Pedro to both have 1 shot each at least, and for there to be over 2 goals in the game. That came out at 7-10. Again, you know, these odds aren't great sort of in their isolated individuals, but you know, I think that's about, like I said in the last one, that's about as good as you're going to get. And then when you put an accumulator on, it does stack up and you do get good odds. So yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think all those players will play. We'll have to see, but I think with Bet365 anyway, if your player gets subbed off or doesn't play, they kind of like, they sort of accommodate that, you know. If your player gets subbed off, then the substitute, it sort of goes on to him. So let's say Cole Palmer comes off for Esteval and Esteval scores, then we still get our return on that. Next up, we've got Juventus versus Benfica. We've gone for a draw there because all three models called that a 1-1 draw, so that's what we're going to go with there. I think, you know, it's fairly likely to happen. It's one of the more dodgier ones, I think, in the accumulator that I'm not so confident about, but, you know, you've got to put yourself out there when you're betting a little bit. Then for the Marseille-Liverpool game, we've gone for a double chance, either a draw or a Liverpool win. So I think, yeah, I mean, maybe Marseille win that, but like sort of on probability terms and like how good the squads are and numbers and that, the sensible money is with Liverpool, I think. Then with the Newcastle PSV game, like I said, wanted to stay away from result here, so we've just gone for both teams to score, and I think that's fairly likely. Both teams have got fairly strong attacks, although they're pretty good at the back as well, but we shall see. And the last game, which is, sorry, not the last game, the penultimate game, excuse me, which was Barcelona against Slavia Praha. We've gone for another bet builder that consists of Robert Lewandowski to score or assist, Rafinha to score or assist, and for there to be over 2 goals in the game. Came out at 21-20, not too bad. And the last game, which is Galatasaray versus Atletico Madrid, one more bet builder, and this is a bit of a big one, so I've gone for the double chance, a draw or an Atletico Madrid win. Victor Osimhen, Leroy Sane, Alexander Sørloth, and Julian Alvarez all to have at least one shot on target each, and for both teams to score. I think this will be one of the more interesting games of the day, one of the most sort of hotly contested with the highest amount of quality. So yeah, that came out 15-4, which I think is really good. I can't see a reason why in a game like this those players won't have at least one shot on target each, but and both teams to score, it kind of goes along with that. If you've got all these like sort of talented attacking players, surely there's going to be a couple of goals, at least one from each side anyway. So that is the reasoning behind that. We've put £1 on, and that's to return £554.68, which I think is a pretty decent return for, I think, mostly sensible bets. Some of them are a little bit dodgy, but we'll have to see and try and ride our luck. So anyway, how it works. So like I said in the intro, all you got to do is comment on this video before all the games have been played, obviously, and that is sort of like your ticket into the competition, as it were. And if we win, then I'll get in contact with you. We'll swap email addresses or WhatsApp or Discord or whatever is easiest for you. And then we'll exchange financial information like the bank details or PayPal information, whatever makes you feel most comfortable. And then I'll just simply send the money across. And with all that said, I'll quickly explain to you what the prompt was so you've got a little bit of context. We'll move on to that right now. All right, so here are the predictions in their list form from the AI models themselves. The reason I don't actually include the prompt itself is because there isn't just one sort of prompt. It's kind of like a multi-layered approach. I'm sort of going back and forth with them every time because sometimes you need to sort of update them or correct them or sort of guide them to the right data sources, that kind of thing. So basically what I say is predict the scores for the upcoming Champions League games, use current data, live form, previous stats, recent results, injury lists, and then also I asked them to consider underdogs and anomalies. So if a certain team, is a good underdog against bigger teams, or if one team always beats the other, or a certain fixture is low scoring or high scoring, or this player always scores against this particular team, all that kind of thing. I'll ask them then to cross-reference all of that information, and then all things considered, what is the most likely outcome. And there we have it. That's basically the end of the video. I just want to quickly say while you're here, thank you so much if you watched up to this point. It really, really does mean a lot. And while you're here, if I could just ask you to subscribe to the channel and like the video as well, I'd be really, really grateful for that. But in any event, thank you very much for watching. Take it easy, get those comments in, and I'll see you in the next one.